Welcome to another video and welcome to Discipline. Chances are if you're watching this, you want to build muscle, you want to lose body fat, and you may need help with your nutrition. And with today's social media, there is so much information out there, it can get really freaking confusing. Guys, I've been in the industry for nearly 10 years. I've competed naturally in about 5 different shows, and I've tried so many different diets. And I'll tell you a little secret of how I got so much success in the fitness industry, and it's because I got a coach and I listened to one person.
No way.
There is so much bullshit out there, especially when it comes to nutrition. It is a joke. Just don't sign in on Instagram. I'm someone who preaches flexible dieting. I always look at the up-to-date research, and even though you may hear what the typical bodybuilder says in the gym, you know, it's not always freaking true. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 10 nutrition myths that may be ruining your damn progress. So in number 10, we have supplements. When I first started off, I always thought, yes, I need to make sure I have all of my supplements. I need to make sure I have my BCAAs. You may have heard this. I need to make sure I'm having L-carnitine, fat burners. Bullshit. I take creatine monohydrate. That is great for performance, and there's a lot of research behind that. Now I take multivitamins. I take omega-3 fish oils. Now supplements are there to supply your diet, to help you with optimal performance. Yes, it's important to take omega-3 fish oils. Yes, it's important to get your vitamins in, which you may not get. Yeah, you might live in England where it's raining all the time, so you might need to supplement with vitamin D3. They're important for sure, but don't go out there thinking that fat burners is going to help me burn through more fat. It won't. BCAAs is another thing. If you get enough protein in through your diet, it's not necessary. You might as well just get some sugar-free juice and just dilute it with water if you crave something sweet. And even fat burners, all it is caffeine. People might tell you, oh, I've seen a lot of results, having these fat burners. Chances are they might be, without realizing it, changing their diet. They might be exercising more, because if someone's taking fat burners, they may be improving other aspects of their life. In number 9, you might have heard this before, and I may have gone through this many times before, is that carbs are bad. And I can't believe I've been in the game for about 10 years and I'm still hearing people that will cut out carbs thinking it is better to have high fat than it is low carb. Now, what people don't understand is that, yes, carbohydrates are very, very important. Yes, they hold on to a percentage of water per gram of carbohydrates, but carbs is what's going to fuel your workout. Most of the foods that you love have carbohydrates, so chances are it's going to be very hard to go low carb, especially if you want a social life, especially if you're on the road working. Now, I'm someone who's done keto, who's done high fat, who's cut out carbs, and yes, at the time I feel good doing it. The problem is I cannot do it long term, and when I came out on my first show, oh my gosh, I ended up eating everything. Then it created that bad relationship with food where I was relating everything I was eating with carbs, and I was blaming it for my weight gain when it was just I hadn't had it for so long, and then I just over-consumed on these foods. There's been no research to suggest that high-fat diet is better than low-carb. And what people don't realize is that sometimes on the research they say, no, you actually burn through more fat when you have high-fat foods. Fat is an energy source as well. So in the research as well, if calories are equated, which means if you're in a calorie deficit with high carbs or with high fat, you will burn through the same amount of body fat with that diet because calories are equated. The difference is that you will oxidize more fat, which means your energy source will predominantly be from fats. Bit obvious if you're having a high fat diet and your glycogen and your carbs are low. And if you're on a high carb diet, chances are you will oxidize more carbohydrates and glycogen as an energy source, because you're having more carbs. When people relate, oh, but when I have carbs, I feel like crap, you got to remember, it's a combination of fats and carbs. Like when you go out to eat and you have a pizza, it's majority fats and carbs. If you have spaghetti and you go out and you have spaghetti bolognese, there's a lot of fat intake with that. So it's a high calorie meal. And then when it comes to cravings, people say, oh, I crave so much sugar. No one actually craves like just a bag of sugar. You never see anyone just down in a bag of sugar. They crave foods that is a combination of fats and carbs, like biscuits, fat and carbs, chocolate, high fat and high carb. In number 7, we have fasted cardio. Now, this is a funny one because a lot of people will do fasted cardio, and that is totally fine. It's all about preference. Some people may even train fasted. I have 6 a.m. clients. Yeah, they haven't eaten yet, and totally understandable. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Why would you? Some people say, especially typical bodybuilders at the gym, will say fasted cardio is better for you than eating breakfast. No, it is not. There is no research to suggest that if you go for a walk and you don't eat beforehand, you're going to burn through more body fat. It is completely false. It is all about preference. Say you are on low calories. So sometimes when I was on my cut, even now, if I get up really early and I want to go on for a walk, there's no point eating. I might as well long out my first meal. So I'll decide to have a coffee and go for a walk. Not because it's going to make me burn through more body fat, just because I want to long out that first meal and I want to make sure I can get throughout the whole day and hit my calories and not feel too hungry. So remember, it's all about personal preference. Next, you might have heard that intermittent fasting is superior. And again, I've been seeing this a lot online, a lot on social media, that intermittent fasting is the best to do. It's going to solve all your problems. No. It doesn't. It is not superior than understanding that you need to be in a calorie deficit. And I've had clients in the past where sometimes they would listen to me and at the start they're like, whoa, I've just started intermittent fasting and I've lost loads of weight. And what they don't realize is that they would usually have that problem. So one client I used to have, she used to say, oh, from 6 to 8 p.m. I just can't stop myself. I eat everything. The minute she said she was doing intermittent fasting, she then eliminated that problem that she had in the evening that was putting her into a calorie surplus or maintenance. So when I did speak to her, I was like, so what have you changed? Well, I've stopped binging and I've stopped eating in the evening. Therefore, you've restricted the amount of calories you are eating in a day. I'm never against certain diets. Well, I kind of am. I flipping hate keto. If something works for you and you're like, no, but I'm getting results and I like it and I enjoy it, that is the most important thing. If you can keep it in your diet and it's sustainable, then it's only a good thing. So understand that intermittent fasting, what it does is that it limits the amount you can eat within a certain window, which means you're going to refrain from overeating on calories. Unlike if it was before, then you would probably be eating everything throughout the day. Number 6, we have clean eating. I am a great believer in that. With your diet, you need to eat majority of your foods from whole foods, clean foods. Try and avoid the processed shit and stuff like that. But the only thing I don't like is when coaches totally say that you need to eat completely clean. I used to do clean eating, high fat and clean eating with my first comp. And yes, it was working. I got good results. But what did that do? It caused me to get to the weekend and I wanted a Five Guys burger. I wanted a pizza. It would cause me to overeat and binge because I knew on Monday I'm going to go back to my clean diet. And that is the problem. And people who do clean eating, or mostly bodybuilders, they claim that they do clean eating. But someone like myself who actually eats more flexible, I actually eat better than them because I don't get to the weekend and start overeating on shit. That's the problem. When you go to eliminate foods that you love, what happens is that you crave it, and then you can't have it within moderation. So for me, clean eating is good. But if you're totally thinking that you can't have 2 biscuits or a chocolate bar because it's going to ruin your progress, then you're wrong. If you can implement it whilst having it within reason, then go for it. If you can hit a chocolate bar every day and it's like 200 calories and the rest of your food is good quality food, keep it in. Number 5, you might have heard this before, and I've heard a lot of people say this in the past, is that you might not be losing weight because you're not eating enough calories.
What?
That is very, very untrue. And some people do say like, listen, I'm not even eating that many calories. Maybe I'm not eating enough. Trust me, you're eating enough. What people don't realize is that when it comes to calories in, calories out, if you're trying to build muscle or lose body fat, it's about what you had over the week. So you could have 5 days where you don't eat much, you're in a deficit. Then you might have 2 days where you go all out and you have takeaways and you just eat shit. Therefore, when you distribute the total amount of calories you've had on all of those days, it's going to increase those other days that you are having low calories. So my point is, it's not that you're not eating enough. It's that you're eating too much, but you think that you're not eating enough. You might be having a lot of high calorie food. A lot of people I know will go to like Costa and Starbucks and have like these 500 calorie coffees, and man, it's a flipping dessert, not a coffee. They might have a croissant, which is another 400, and by the time you know it, you feel like you haven't eaten a lot because all of those foods that you're eating are so calorie dense. No, I haven't eaten that much today. Trust me, when you add these things up, they add up massively. Next to number 4, you might have heard this especially for women, is that protein will make you big. And that is simply very, very inaccurate, especially for women. I do get it from time to time. Women will say, I don't want to have too much protein because it might make me big. It does not make you big. You got to remember, women, compared to men and women, men produce a lot more testosterone naturally in the body. Women is a lot lower. So therefore, even with training, women want to be doing weight training, they will never amount to the same amount of testosterone production than men. Even if you identify as something else, you can't change science. some women I know, they're like, oh, but I've started eating this and then I'm actually putting on weight. It's because your calories are too high as well. Chances are, if you do have a higher protein diet, you're going to feel much more fuller. There's a thermogenic effect of protein, which means the amount of calories burned through digestion, and protein is at its highest, which I think is around 30 to 35%, which is a decent amount of calories that are burned through digestion. It also keeps you fuller, so when you do have a high protein meal, you're going to feel a lot fuller. And number 3, I used to do this when I first started off because a typical bodybuilder told me this. You need to eat every 2 to 3 hours, and I used to believe this. Like eating every 2-3 hours will stoke. It's like stoking a fire, keeping the fire alight, and that is simply a lie. What I remember is that when I did used to have smaller meals every 2 to 3 hours, I was more hungry, and that's the point. It makes you more hungry because you're not having a substantial amount of calories in one meal. You're having a little bit, you're snacking a little bit. You're having smaller meals, which you're not really satisfied, because then you get 2 hours later, you want to eat again, and then you want to eat again. And what I've changed in my time is that I have 3 higher calorie meals, which is about sometimes between 500 and 800 calories. It keeps me fuller for longer, so you don't need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. It will not make a difference to your gains. Yes, in terms of performance, I would aim to eat every 4 to 6 hours if you're looking for more performance based, because even if it's fat loss or muscle building, when it comes to performance, you still need to eat like an athlete. And in number 2, you might have heard this as well, my metabolism is too slow. I've damaged my metabolism. A lot of people used to think this back in the days, that I've damage my metabolism. You cannot damage your metabolism. It's something called metabolic adaptation. For instance, before I started my cut for my show, I started on very high calories coming out of a building phase. As I went along on that fat loss phase and I got to a very lean state, don't know what that flipping thumbs up is. What happens is that my metabolism adapted to the amount I was eating. So as I got to leaner and leaner, my maintenance calories dropped. So what that means is my body adapted to the amount of food I was on. Because I was so shredded on stage, the amount of calories that I needed to maintain that new weight was a lot lower than when I started. And this is called metabolic adaptation. Now, the thing is, after my show, this is why I always say to clients, it's so important that after you complete your fat loss phase, your maintenance calories is a lot lower than when you started. So what a lot of people do is after they lose a substantial amount of weight or body fat, they go, oh, I can't do this anymore. I want to have a break. And the problem with that is you are going to go straight from a calorie deficit and then you're going to shoot back up into a calorie surplus. And that is when you're going to put on that weight even more than when you started. And that's why a lot of people, when they do a fat loss phase, they put the weight back on. The most important part I say to every client is that you need to focus on the next 6 months after you finish your diet. You need to learn how to maintain those results. You need to reverse diet, which means we need to increase your calories over time to make sure your metabolism starts speeding up so that your body can get used to having more food. And when that happens, you can then have more calories over time and you can maintain that new weight without ballooning up and down. And in number 1, guys, this is another one that actually helped me a hell of a lot during my fat loss phase for my comp, is that sweeteners and Diet Cokes will give you cancer. And this is simply not true. And if you're someone who's having normal sugary drinks like Coke, stuff like that, I strongly recommend switch those drinks to sugar-free drinks and the diet one as well. You will lose so much weight if you're someone who has a lot of sugary drinks or diet drinks. Oh my gosh, you will lose a lot if you make these switches because you're going to save a lot on calories. And the research is there to support this, that it will not give you cancer. There was a research paper back in the day which they did it on mice, I believe, and then they found some resemblance of, I can't remember what it was, but they did this study on mice. When it came to doing it on humans, there was no correlation between cancer and obviously having diet drinks. For it to have any effect on you, I can't remember what the number is, but it's something ridiculous like 55 cans of Coke a day to have some sort of negative effect on the body. So you have to remember, this got me through my cut. This got me through staying within a calorie deficit, because essentially if you're trying to lose body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So therefore you're going to be a little bit hungry. And after a big meal, when I was still hungry, having a can of Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, oh my gosh, it bloated me up and it made me feel a lot fuller. Sugar-free drinks helped as well. I recommend them a hell of a lot, especially if you're trying to lose body fat. Anyways, I hope this video helped. Make sure you comment below, and I'm trying to get out more content for this fitness channel, so it will grow and it will grow. So if you could like, this would really help out. Let me know what you want to see next, and yeah, I'm gonna go have a coffee with a bit of sweetener.